Welcome back. Those of you who participated in the morning session saw the glimpse of the future. An extraordinary We are back to the past now.
Okay.
An extraordinary presentation, and you could see that you can have a sequence of presentations, 10 minutes each, and it's a mind opener. But most important, it is appetizing, and you say, please do more of it. We are going to support it because you really need to go ahead with it. And the broad spectrum of presentations that were given here, from the humanities to the biologists to the computers to whatever, is really so impressive and showing again the interdisciplinary wide nature of our university, a strategy that has been the hallmark of Professor Klafter's presidency. We've spoken a lot already about Professor Klafter's presidency. We have had the privilege to listen to his State of the University presentation in our first plenary. And this second part of our proceedings is going to be putting things in context and wrapping it up. But before, you are also Board of Governors. We have bylaws, we have fiduciary responsibilities, we have committees, and we have work that is being done throughout the year. So let me start first with the committee reports. Please bear with us, and we will go through them in the most efficient way, but still give you if you need any time. And then we will move to the next phase. So let me start with committee reports. The steering committee report is shown in front of you. We have there the list of nomination committees, members, and you can see by the color, in fact, the red color are the new names that are added. We have always the theme of continuity and change. The names that are in black are representing those who are continuing to serve on these roles. Please take your calendars, and I'm sure that your email will be populated with the date of the next meeting. The next meeting is proposed to be in 2020, May 13 through May 17. Same rhythm, starting on the Wednesday, concluding on the Sunday. You will get million reminders, but please mark your calendar. The second committee is by the way, we will leave discussions to the very end to the extent that you have, and then we will wrap it up. The second committee is the Campus Development and Maintenance Committee, which has been traditionally and ably chaired by our Dame Shirley Porter. And Dame Porter, may I ask you to provide a brief report? The report is being on the screen, and therefore Dame Porter will take the liberty of not reading every word if you so desire.
I'm not so sure about that. Actually, I'm delighted to concur with what you suggested, because it is all up there. The trouble is I'm not up there, but anyway, I actually wanted to say, is there a problem?
Perfect.
I'll start again. I really wanted to say that it's been very, very interesting times for the Campus Development Committee. There was a very, very lean period and those who were involved in that particular department will remember. So it's very exciting that there's more and more and more buildings, and that is wonderful. But I don't want to put make it all deflate the wonderful atmosphere that we have. We've all enjoyed wonderful events, incredible, and my congratulations to one and all. But nevertheless, I was walking through the campus this morning and I was thinking to myself, it's marvellous, wonderful. I just walk through, see some of the old buildings, and gradually they are being renovated. And an idea came to me, which may or may not meet with those who actually take the decisions, agreement. But I thought the real problem is buildings like us get old. I live in a block of flats where we're having to reclad it completely, and it's an enormous price, and it's a damn nuisance. And they're falling down. Bits of it are falling down, fine. Now, if you wait till the time that the pieces fall down, it's much more expensive and it's not a nice atmosphere. So I wondered whether, and it's a little bit of an offbeat sort of suggestion, we have maintenance which is very ably undertaken by the maintenance, by the development, well, what do I call them, engineers, etc. And what we need now is, I think, and this is addressed to Amos, I thought perhaps we could have a crowd funding, and we're the crowd, maintenance fund. There are those people who have told me that they can't manage to pay for a building, to pay for something really, really expensive, but they could. And it's not a question of saying you've got to spend that amount. It's a question of, would you like to? And I can assure you, and I would perhaps suggest that somebody with some experience explains to you what a difference it makes and how much you could be helpful. So I'd like to put that idea, which is up there somewhere or other, but it's very serious, that this is the moment. You can't walk around and just have brand new buildings. They get old. In fact, the Britannia building, which my parents were part of, you're talking about, I think, 40 years, not something like that. So we must look to the future. Now, apart from that, I wanted obviously to say that it's difficult to know what to say to you, Yossi. You've had so many words spoken and you deserve them all. You and I had a moment when we had a little difference of opinion on how to go forward. I'm very sensitive on the point of interdisciplinarity, and I see Yaron understands what I'm talking about. And it's at least, I think, 30 years since I brought that idea to this university. So I'm very happy that it's happening. It is not easy. It's easy for some. It's not easy for those who get gobbled up, are no longer, like the Segal School in interdisciplinarity, but are now part of a larger whole. I have to say that people are trying, things are getting together, but please do not forget those that started it all and acknowledge, it doesn't mean, sort of titles and things, it means just remember from whence it came. I just want to make sure that I waffle on, and I'm finished now, I think. I've done my crowdfunding maintenance fund. I've done Yossi. In fact, actually, I just want to say that really, this is an amazing university, and the Campus Development Committee are very pleased to be taking a major role in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dame Shirley. Let me just clarify, you have not done Yossi. You brought up the most appropriate part of your remarks about Yossi. I keep your glasses here in case you want to come up in a moment. I'll give it to you. It was very appropriate that you would be the first committee member to come to address us, because you and your family represent, in a way, generations of supporters of this great university. And even chairing committee, has stayed within the family, and as we will see very soon. We go on now to the next reports from the Finance Committee. Please. Tim, and the floor, and again, like always, everything is being on the screen.
Thank you very much. We'll move to the numbers part of the show. The Finance Committee met on Wednesday, the 15th. Was chaired by Zvi Ziv and myself. Presentations were led by Neri Azogi and Ehud Or. Subject matter presented included academic outputs, financial statements, budget analysis, both for the most recent fiscal year, the prior fiscal year, and then looking at the budget for the year that we're currently in. Some of the highlights, which I think are important for the year ended 30 September, are the following. We received the largest portion of annual research funding allocated by the government relative to all universities in Israel. An incredible achievement. As it's based on research accomplishment, it clearly is a testimony to the excellence of the faculty, as we've seen already today, which is outstanding. So, the second point I would make is that student enrollment showed growth this school year for the first time in 5 years. We've seen demographic headwinds. I suspect everybody's got a sense of that. It's affected all universities, but Tel Aviv University is holding its own, which is another great accomplishment. As noted, we've been on a sizable construction drive. It continues, but we've approached it in a very prudent manner financially, which is very important, obviously. We benefit from the expertise of Neri and his staff, and I'd like to congratulate them. On the pure number side, and really I have to say I translated it from shekels to dollars because the shekels are too big. Total revenue, and the dollars are getting big. Total revenue for the year just ended 30 September was $676.8 million. It was a 5.2% increase over the prior year. The budget, and this is an important accomplishment, has been balanced and a surplus achieved in each of the past 2 years. Total net assets as of 30 September were $824.7 million. Total donations last year surpassed $82 million, the highest level in the past 5 years. $22 million was invested in construction last year. If any of you have any questions about what these numbers really mean, you got to see Neri, not me. The resolutions that are up here, I believe, I would note, and I think it ties into the comments made about development. You see there in the second one in particular, recruitment of senior academic faculty, the development of infrastructure in the university are critically important. And we've also got this one other small line item of sufficient designated funds for budgetary pension payments, a big item for us. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the next report is by the Funds and Trust report. Will be presented by Edwin, please.
Okay, good morning. The Fund and Trust Committee met on May 15. Neri Azogi, sorry. My name is Neri Azogi. I'm the Vice Director General for Finance. The Fund and Trust Committee met...
Explain, Edwin is the co-chair.
Yes. Okay, so the Fund and Trust Committee met on May 15. The meeting was co-chaired by Mr. David Granot and Mr. Edwin Wolfson. We presented the investment portfolio, which amounted to almost 3 billion shekel, the investment policy and the current investment allocation, the duration and the currency indexes exposures, and finally the return. There was a discussion on the investment policy and the risk policy. There were different opinions regarding the risk of the portfolio should take, and it actually led to the third resolution that we brought here. So you can see here the proposed resolutions, and the third resolution is that since a significant part of the committee's discussion deals with the risk policy of the portfolio And since the Executive Council is in charge of the investment policy, the committee is asking that some representative members of the Executive Council will take part in the meeting. So these are the resolutions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Larry. And we now go to the Student Affairs Committee. Another important member of the family, Linda Stride, please.
Hello, everybody. Well, I just want to say, as we all know, the students are the lifeblood of this university. If we have buildings and we have no students, then we can't go on. So students are most important. You see the resolutions up on the board. This is very much what we concentrated on was inclusion, that every student should be able to study. Doesn't matter what disability they have, that should not be able to prevent them. So the university is trying very hard, and in particular the emphasis was on the students who have ASD, on the autistic spectrum, and we had a whole discussion about that. And there's a wonderful project, it's called the Yahalom project. Yahalom means diamond, and basically what we're saying is that you take a rough diamond and you polish it. If you give it the right treatment, then let everything shine through. So that is what the project is doing. It's a small project, and we're asking for funds for that. And we also have a lot of students who turn to the student services are those the international students. They have a lot of problems, they come from far away, and we are saying that funds need to come from the international organization to be diverted towards those students, otherwise it's disproportionate. So that's very important. And I also want to tell you that the Department of Social Responsibility and Involvement is very much a role model for other universities, and they won a prize this year for the work that they do. And I particularly want to commend Professor Tova Most, who is my co-chairman. She's at a conference today, and everybody feels they can turn to her, and she does a very good job, and our students are the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. The next item on our agenda is the Nominations Committee, which has a lot of material. I will present them just by following with you the screen. The first item on the screen is the list of Board of Governors officers and their terms. They include in red the new officers which are nominated: Eli Gelman as chairman of the Executive Council and Professor Ariel Porat as the president-elect. These are the nominations, and in addition to them, there are the officers that have already been served, and we have the list also of chairman emeriti. Some of them have departed, some of them are still with us, and we wish them long life. In any event, this is the slate of officers of the Board of Governors. The second group is the list of recommendations for deputy chairman and vice chairman for the period 2019 to 2021. It includes the existing deputy chair, Dame Shirley Porter. It proposes the nomination of Mr. Jeremy Kohler, who you have all met in the first plenary, and the list of the vice chair that is listed below. Finally, we add to this list Anita Friedman, whom you again met in the last few days, and we maintain the honorary vice chair lists as indicated on your board. As chairman or chairpersons of the various committees, we keep the tradition of having each committee co-chaired by one from Israel and one from abroad. This is the aspiration when it comes to the Campus Development and Maintenance Committee. Because of the issue of location, it was useful to have both of the co-chairs from Israel. In any event, this is the list that is indicated here. We have made no changes here except for the Funds and Trust Committee. We are proposing to add David Granot from Israel. And now comes a very, very long list, which includes the elections of new governors. They have already been sent to all of you in advance. It is organized here alphabetically by countries. Many of them have received already their certification in the first plenary. Following this, we have another longer list, fortunately to us, of existing governors who have been re-elected, and this completes the report of the Nomination and Nominating Committee. Please. Absolutely. Absolutely. You are breaking into an open door, as you know. So in this regard, it's perfectly fine, well corrected, well noted, and hopefully implemented without any deviation. So these are the committee reports. Okay, very good. Now the resolutions. Please, can you put them on the screen? Okay. Okay, so is this the time for voting? Okay, yes, ladies and gentlemen. I know it will be a highly controversial vote, but with the extraordinary sense of solidarity, we will propose to vote to all of them in one vote, unless somebody suggests that we go one by one. And since I don't see any hand, so why don't I say, let's have a proposal that all of these resolutions are being approved. And for this, I need to see a vote. Who is in favor of approving all of those resolutions as indicated? I see that some of you do not hear well. Some of you have a hand ache, but thank you very much. I saw all the hands. If there is any objections? None. Any abstentions? None. Very good. So, by the way, this is not to be viewed in any way as departure from active democracy, but rather reflections of significant advanced stage management to allow the spontaneity at the time that it deserves to be appearing with us, and to allow us to come on with the main issue of this morning. So we are done with this part. Thank you. I was reminded that in the spirit of what Linda mentioned, the life and blood of this university are the students. And the student representative, Mr. Tene, just informed us that he was not feeling well. He is a little sick. It's not a political sickness. He genuinely did not feel well. He wanted to come and express his praise and appreciation to the occasion, but he basically is not here, so let the record shows that he sent his remarks for the record and they will enter as submitted. Thank you. I look at you, Linda, because I look at you as the promoter. Okay, we are now going to the next important order of business, and the order of business is the passing the baton and the handover and things like this. I would like to start, therefore, with the process of ratification of the president-elect, and I want to also have the pleasure and privilege of presiding over the passing of the baton. I don't know if we have an actual baton, but the reason that we do not have an actual baton is that when you pass the baton, you are giving up the baton and it is going to the new person. But we are really believing much more in the continuity. So it's a long rope, and on the rope there are some knots. So you are moving from one knot to another knot as the one with the knot in the front is holding the so-called baton. So let me start. I had already the occasion to describe in great both emotions and substance the feelings and appreciation that we all hold to Yossi for his extraordinary service during the past 10 years. It is the fact that you have led this great university for, I would say, probably the most significant 10 years unit in its history. I cannot think of any slice of arbitrarily chosen 10 years in which the before and after the separation would be so profound. And I am sure that you are leaving us with a great campus, with a great future, with very big shoes to fill. And I'm also confident that with the solidarity that we have here, we will all make this transition work in the best way as we pass the baton to your successor. But let me start telling you from my own perspective how I personally see it. These remarks are more personal because they reflect so many hats that I wear in this context. This is the place, the campus in which I initially studied, the only building on campus, the red building, which is now called the law school, was the only building on campus when I came here, and it was, must say, more than 50 years ago. And nobody in his right mind would have thought that in 50 years, this would be the picture, both physically and, more importantly, content-wise. Both of my children graduated from these universities, first degree, second degree, third degree. And each time I've been personally more and more impressed. You brought the university to new heights. There is just no question and no argument about it. The international network that has been created during the past 2 terms is literally second to none. Our university was a good university with a lot of prospects and some international connections here and there, but to make it truly a global university, not only in terms of faculty and sporadic conferences and sporadic exchange of faculty and students, but rather an integrated program, both for foreign students, domestic students, foreign faculty, domestic faculty, international advisory, the International Board of Governors that are so committed and are crossing the world just to come and be partners here is the best testimony. You came during a very difficult period. We all know the history. We should not necessarily dwell on it, but we should definitely not forget it. And the word unified is the word that is really most appropriate to describe what you did. Unified not only East and West, but unified all dimensions that fractures can be characterizing. You moved it to interdisciplinary focus, technologically, scholarly, entrepreneurship. And I think that the fact that you yourself came to this job not as an administrator who is looking for the next administrating job, but rather coming out from a superb meteoric career as a scientist who has had a lot to leave behind by volunteering to come and lead this institution. You have, in a way, injected your passion for excellence to all dimensions of the institution. And I think that that's the important point. It's nice to be a good administrator, but it's more important to have the passion for excellence in whatever one does, because being a scientist means you don't look for shortcuts, means that you are persevering, means that you are willing to have setbacks and to learn the lessons and move on. We as institution, and it's always the case, and therefore I think that we were fortunate that the choice for a president at the time was made from somebody who is basically one of the scientific academic community and is willing to serve the rest as a colleague who knows the DNA of what academic institution is all about. Without knowing the DNA, you would not have been able to make it so well. And I think that you also came during a period where all over the world, but specifically in Israel, the idea of academic freedom, the idea of independence of academic pursuit from short-term political pressure, the idea of protecting the institutions of democracy, all of this came to the fore during your term, and I think that you stood the challenge in a spectacular way, in a very respectable way, and I think that this job those of us who come from abroad may not know the structure, how it goes, but the universities in Israel have a committee that is comprised of the heads of the institutions. It is called VERA, ועד ראשי האוניברסיטאות, the committee of the heads of the universities. To put the heads of universities in the same room and to sing in a harmonic way is a challenge. And Yossi led that group in a very, very successful way. And the reason why he did it was he was credible. He did not come there in order to advance only Tel Aviv University cause at the expense of others. He identified that there is something which is bigger than a specific cause of a specific university, because we are all in the same boat. And in this struggle that is still not over, and when I say passing the baton, it's also passing that particular charge to the successor. The role of academic freedom in society is central, and I think that you have put us on the right path. Now, everyone says, wow, if everything is so perfect, we are going to be orphaned. And we will try not to. And I told you already, Yossi is going to join you all as a governor. And because he is so young, the future is still ahead of him. I talked to him about what are his dreams. And I will leave him to tell it to you. But you know, how I know that he is young, Shimon Peres once defined what does it mean to be young. And Shimon had the ability to define it because he did it from the height of 90 plus. And he said, if you ask a person to tell you his dreams, and if his dreams are commensurate and maybe even bigger than his record up to that point, it means that he is young. So Shimon was young, and I think that if you talk to Yossi, you will see that he is young, and we will look forward to see how the youth is going to be manifested, and I'm sure that it will. Let me now, therefore, come back to where we started. We started last week by saying that this is the season for the changing of the guards, and there are several of them. But the most important one is the one that I just described. So before I move on to the next issue, I would like us to again express our appreciation. I don't need to translate what happened now into words. The music spoke for itself. It was a genuine, and this time really spontaneous, vote of appreciation and expression. And you could see that, believe me, it was not orchestrated. You orchestrated it for the past 10 years. So in a way, it is the grand finale to something that was there. Occasionally, words cannot fully express what one wants to say, so assume that the unexpressible was said. Now, boats have to be navigated by a variety of roles. There is the skipper, there are the sailors, there are all of those kind of things. An important change of guards that is also taking place is change of guards in the job, the important job of the chairman of the executive council of the university. This is a role that is primarily coming from people who have the skill and track record of being in the business sector. Of course, they need to show understanding about the fact that we are not the military and we are not a corporation, and the way in which you induce your people to do the right thing is much more subtle and much more sophisticated. It's not by chain of command, but it's by conviction and by being able to pull together diverse. And that's why the choice of chairman of the executive council is and has always been a very important one and consequential one. Last December, the then existing chairman of the executive council, Dr. Giora Yaron, completed his 2 terms. Giora Yaron has served the university with great distinction. He introduced to the executive council a lot of the positive characteristics of good governance: transparency, accountability, continuity, records, follow-up, all the things that you need from a well-functioning organization to work. Of course, they have fiduciary responsibilities of approving budgets and priorities and all of this kind of thing. And the Executive Council, I can tell you, is composed, all of them, from people for whom this is not their day job, but they bring their day job experience into, diverse experience, into one objective: how to serve and help the university. So Giora Yaron ended his term. There was a search committee that was comprised of members as specified by the Constitution, and the search committee elected, and the mechanisms for approval went through, and we have elected Mr. Eli Gelman as the then new chairman of the Executive Council. Since this is you were all informed about it, but since this is the first Board of Governors meeting that we have the opportunity to actually introduce Mr. Gelman to you, I can tell you, by way of introduction, he's the one who sits at the corner of the table. And the corner of the table does not represent the fact that he is at the corner. In fact, between the chairman of the Board of Governors and the chairman of the Executive Council, that's where everything else is spanned, led by the spearhead of the president himself. And we have in the middle the three individuals that basically run all the university from all substantive matter: the outgoing president, the incoming president, and the fixed point, which is going to be connecting the past and the future in the best possible way, our rector, I should say, an admired rector, Professor Yaron Oz. So let me say just a few words about Eli Gelman, just in case you need to, and then we will move on. So Eli has served already, he's being the chairman of the Executive Council since practically the beginning of this year, the last 2 days of previous year. Prior to this, he was president and chief executive officer of a very large company, Amdocs Management Limited. It's a software company. It has 26,000 employees. It is the leading customer experience domain in the communication and the media space. And that company was really synonym to the name of Eli Gelman. Eli Gelman's career in Amdocs spanned about 30 years. It included all dimensions from operations, software development, sales, strategy, corporate development, everything that one needs to have as qualification for chairman of the Executive Council of Tel Aviv University. He has been a member of the board of Amdocs since 2002. He has been a board of and chairman of other activities, Retailix, providing software solutions to retail distributions. His forte has been all dimensions of management. He started his career in managing 2 individuals and passing the baton in a company with managing 26,000 individuals. By the way, all over the world, 6,000 of them in Israel, and the company has had presence in 60 countries all over the world. So the global context, the excellence, the notion, the competition, all of this is embodied in Mr. Gelman, who has a BSc in electronic engineering, specializing in communication and computers from the Technion. He has been 5 years with the Israeli Defense Force, including the leadership role in developing frequency hopping encrypted communication gear during the 1980s, when nobody knew how to spell these things, let alone to identify how critical they are. And today, so many years thereafter, we only see how far-sighted these developments have been. In addition to the professional background, he has shown significant personal interest in youth education within his philanthropic efforts. In short, he comes to us with a menu of characteristics that just fits the bill. And I just hope, like everything one needs at the end of the day, hope is not a strategy. So I just hope, namely, that we will all work hard together to make sure that these qualifications are translated and transformed in good cooperation with the Executive Council, with the President of the University, with all the other branches of the University, with the Rector, with the Board of Governors, all of these kind of things. An integrated system requires an integrated approach. An integrated approach is the dual to the concept that Professor Klafter has instilled in us, the concept of interdisciplinary. Don't go it alone, go do it in embracing great diversity. And let me tell you, Eli, you have here strong partners that will be very happy and eager to help you in what you do. But let's face it, what you do is, at the end of the day, another effort to facilitate what our new president will do. We are all here to facilitate and to help and support the top of the pyramid, and there is only one point in the top, it's the president. We will all stand ready to support the new president in whatever capacity we can, and because the cause is so big. And with this in mind, because you were the chairperson of the search committee for the new president, I would like to do two things simultaneously. First, greet you. And second, to invite you here for a few words, including your, and at the end of the day, you will invite the new president, the president-elect, I should say. We have not yet ratified him. It's all on probation. And your behavior in the next few minutes will be very consequential. So please, come over.
Thank you very much for the warm introduction, Chairman Frenkel. And good morning to everyone in the room here. I must start by sharing with you how pleased I am to join such a world-class university. I joined at the first of the year and still learning many aspects of Tel Aviv University. But the more I learn, the more impressed I am, including the last few days while learning to know this powerful form of governance. It was enough to listen and extrapolate from the four young researchers presenting this morning to understand the quality of this university. In my short presentation this morning, I will cover three topics. First one, why I'm here. Basically, in other words, what attracted me to this pro bono job after a long and fruitful business career. I will share with you some of the details around the search process for the new president of TAU. And I will present to you the consideration which led our committee to choose President-elect Professor Porat. I will do that in my own words, but I will base my talks about Porat from the inputs of the members of the search committee. Before I do that, I want to use this stage to thank Dr. Georgi Aron, my predecessor, who saved no effort to bring me up to speed and to make me as ready as possible to this complex and important job. I also want Georgi is not here, but I will communicate to him. I also want to join the many people who spoke before me in the different events over the last few days, and to thank Professor Yossi Klafter for his remarkable 2 terms as the president of Tel Aviv University. Yossi took the helm of this university almost 10 years ago, in a crisis. Actually, he was asked to take this job, and he had literally to figure out what this job is all about and how to go about it. 10 years later, he is leaving a flourishing university with progress on any dimension. Thank you, Yossi. As a matter of fact, Yossi's high achievement is the base Ariel is starting from. And I believe I'm speaking on behalf of all of us when I say this is the base, a high base. But we want to continue to progress. We want to continue to grow. We want to continue to excel and to thrive. And with this approach, I have joined Tau. As such, I'm asking myself every day, how can I help Tau President and Tau Management to take this great base of today and make it even better? I'm looking forward to working with all of you to do just that. Personally, I'm here because I believe academia is the primary engine behind Israel's future. And I strongly believe that the close relation between the academia and the real life, the practice, will generate strong benefits for everyone. This could and should be a classical 1 + 1 = 3. About the search committee. My first important task as an executive council chairman was to head the selection committee for the new president. We were fortunate to attract a number of truly outstanding and worthy candidates from Tau and from other leading universities in Israel and the United States. The committee members were heartened and flattered by such prominent figures that were ready to change their life and commit to leading this university for the next 5 years. Indeed, we had 7 excellent candidates, and therefore it was not a trivial process to choose the most fitted person to the job. We met all 7 candidates and went through a systematic screening process. We got to the final candidates, 3 candidates, in consensus. When our job turned real difficult, as we had a dream group of people to choose from. I truly believe the fact that Tel Aviv University can present several candidates of the highest caliber from the current faculty is a testament to the depth of this university. As said, the decision was not easy, but at the end of the serious, precise, and in-depth review process, the committee led overwhelmingly support to choose Professor Ariel Porat as the next president of Tel Aviv University. I want to thank the members of the committee and to Karen, the university legal advisor, for sparing no effort and holding all meetings in the highest level possible. As stipulated by the Tau Constitution, his election has been ratified by the Senate with a vast majority and unanimously approved by the Executive Council at Tau. And it's now being submitted today for this board. Let me present Ariel Porat then. Ariel is an Amet Prize laureate, which granted by the Prime Minister and considered to be one of the highest distinguished at the national level, and a member of the Israel Academy of Sciences. There are only a handful of faculty members in Israel who have both got this distinguished, and Ariel is one of them. Ariel is considered by his colleagues to be the top law professor in Israel. His main areas of expertise, tort law and economic analysis of law. He is considered to be one of the most prominent scholars worldwide in these areas. Ariel holds a permanent visiting professorship chair at the University of Chicago, where he is visiting annually for the past 15 years. This is on top of being visiting professor at Stanford, Berkeley, New York University, Columbia, and other leading universities. Ariel was quoted by top American law schools more than once, but always turned the offer down. I think we can call him a Zionist in the good sense of the word. But Porat's academic achievements and his professional reputation were only one component of why the committee was impressed by him. We were obviously looking for management capabilities and human and managerial values as well. The committee was positively influenced with Porat's track record as a dean of the law faculty, which took place in challenging years, and from his deep value as a person and as a manager. His intimate knowledge of Tel Aviv University, which was enhanced as a result of the thorough job he did as a chair of the strategic committee, also known internally as the Porat Committee, and which profoundly influenced the university in the past 5 years, and his outreach program to include excellent students from the social and geographical fringes of Israel are just two examples of the things which impressed us in Porat's career. We believe Porat's willingness and courage to think outside of the box, his collaborative leadership style, combined with listening skills, his deep social commitment, combined with warm personality, and ultimately his ability to take decisions and implement them, are going to help him execute his new role as Tower President. I'm confident Professor Porat understands by now we all have high expectations from him. I certainly do. I'm pleased then to call Mr. Porat, Professor Porat, to the stage to present his vision.
Thank you, Eli. Thank you very much. Dear Presidium, dear governors, colleagues, friends, my dear family, I would say a few words about myself and then a few more words about my vision. So I was born in November 1956 during the Suez Crisis. My father, who fought on the front lines, learned about my birth from an ad my mother placed in the newspaper. My strongest memory as a child is the Six-Day War. I was then 11 years old. I can remember the sights of strangers in Tel Aviv hugging each other in the streets after following the early news about IDF victories. My strongest memory as a youth is the Yom Kippur War. I was then 17 years old. My friends and I were called from the classroom to help the military prepare sandbags to be sent to the fronts for our troops. With those childhood memories as were actually background for my decision to serve 5 years in the army as an officer in the intelligence. I served part of the time in Israel and some part of that time outside of Israel. I was quite a good intelligence officer. There is a guy, he's a former soldier of mine, Eyal Zisser, the vice provost. Is it true that I was a good intelligence officer? So as I
What
say,
do you expect him to say?
that's the point, now you understood. So as I said, I was quite a good intelligence officer, some would even say very good. And I was not far from staying more time in the army, pursuing a military career. But my attraction to law was sufficiently strong to pull me into law studies at the Faculty of Law of Tel Aviv University, the Buchman. Then it wasn't Buchman, but later it became the Buchman Faculty of Law of Tel Aviv University. Now, I gained all my degrees in law from the Buchman Faculty of Law. After the completion of my PhD at Tel Aviv, I traveled with my wife and my little daughter, who is now taking photos of me here. So we traveled to New Haven, to Yale Law School. So that was my postdoc studies at Yale. That was also the place in which I first was exposed and captured by the magic of the economic analysis of law. So for those of you who are not familiar with this specific field, what we do in law and economics, we take insights from economics and apply them to the law to evaluate how the law can and should affect people's behavior. It's also related to psychology, maybe neuroscience one day. Sami is here, so. Now, although my scholarship was always very much related to the real world, rather than being highly abstract, I always knew, actually from the very beginning of my career, that I would seek channels to influence Israeli society more broadly and more directly. So that's what brought me to be 17 years ago to be the Dean of the Buchmann Faculty of Law. With the trust and authority given to me, together with the fantastic cooperation of my great colleagues at the law school, we transformed the law school to be interdisciplinary one and international one. In just few years, we became the leading law school in Israel and a renowned law school worldwide. Now that desire to influence Israeli society motivates me to ask for your trust and support to be the next president of Tel Aviv University. So I'm inheriting a university in an outstanding shape, thanks to President Klafter and thanks to Yaron Oz, our extraordinary provost, and of course thanks to many other people, Ra'anan, Yoav, Amos, Gadi, and many other people. I cannot count them all. So of course that I'm going to continue Yossi's efforts. It goes without saying. Why not? It's obvious. But of course, I have my own ideas and plans. So I would love to share all my ideas with you, but for now I would focus only on one goal, which I consider to be extremely important and I feel very strongly about, which is the globalization of Tel Aviv University. So I have a three-part plan for the globalization of Tel Aviv University. The first part is about attracting hundreds, many hundreds, of undergraduate international students to Tel Aviv University. Now, today we have two such programs, mainly two programs for undergraduate students, one for the liberal arts located in the humanities, and another one for legal. Okay. That happens.
He already has reactions, you see?
And the other one, a degree for electrical engineering located at the Faculty of Engineering. Imagine now that in all the 9 faculties that we have, there would be such undergraduate programs. I expect to have hundreds, many hundreds of undergraduate students at our campus. The second part of the plan is the following. So we have 31 schools. So I envision that almost each of those schools would have an ongoing collaboration with a leading university in the world. I'm talking about ongoing, not ad hoc, ongoing collaboration with a leading university. Currently, we have actually 3 such programs. One at the Kohler School of Management. This is the Kellogg, very well-known Kellogg-Recanati, very successful program. And we also have 2 programs at the law school. One, an LLM program with University of Berkeley, and the other one with Northwestern University. So I envision having not 3, but close to 30 such programs. Now, the third part of my globalization plan actually is the most ambitious one, but also the most exciting one, which is setting up campuses, international campuses of Tel Aviv University abroad, together with leading American universities. So in my vision, those international campuses would be established or with the collaboration of leading universities in Asia, could be China, India, or maybe even in Europe. Now, those would be not general campuses, but limited in scope. So they would be topic-based. So the idea here is to take those areas in which Tel Aviv University is especially strong about. I could mention neuroscience, maybe Jewish studies, or entrepreneurship, and there are many other fields in which we are exceptionally strong about, and then to take those fields and to, in a way, import them right, to establish international campuses in destinations abroad. Of course, we should be very modest at the beginning, start with one such campus, maybe then proceed to the second one, and then see how it goes. Now, what are the advantages of having international campuses, and actually what are the advantages of the other parts of the plane that I just sketched briefly to you? So actually there are several advantages. The first one is that they would enhance the presence and the reputation of Tel Aviv University abroad. Second, they would encourage more collaboration in both research and teaching of our faculty with faculty in leading universities abroad. Third, it would attract more postdoc and doctorate students to Tel Aviv University. Last but not least, it would deepen the relationship of the State of Israel with other nations and peoples. Now, to achieve this and many other goals that I have, I would need your support and advice. In the next year, I'm going to be in contact with all of you, either directly or indirectly to our Friends Association. Of course, I'm going also to visit you, so be ready. I will be inspired by your enthusiasm, by your dedication, and most importantly, by your friendship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Obviously, you can sense that you are greeted warmly, and now delivery. But before delivery, we need actually to ratify you. Before, I assume that the results of the answer to the question will determine the future of the university. Please. Yes, Ken. Yes. יש כאן מיקרופון? Excuse me. Wait a second. I want to make sure that everyone hears you. Maybe you should introduce yourself while you're talking.
So the question is to Professor Ariel Porat. We're looking forward and we congratulate you. My question is the following. Is there any way that we at the board can find out statistics of how many wonderful Israeli students are unable to get a space at the university and study because there's just not enough capacity? So as much as we recognize the importance of globalization, I think our first and foremost responsibility is to our own students, the Israeli students, so they will not have to go and seek spaces and studying at European, maybe lesser level of universities, because we reach out a bit too far at their expenses.
Thank you. I think it's a very important question. I don't think that these are two different goals. I think that we should do the most we can to help Israeli students that cannot afford being a student because of the reason that you mentioned. We should do whatever we can to attract them to the university, to accommodate them, and to help them. In fact, I am responsible to a program that I established at the law school a long time ago, which later became also a university program, which is a program of admitting students from the Israeli geographical periphery to the university. And that was also my first experience in raising money. I was the dean of the law school, so I went and met a very generous person. I wouldn't mention names here, but many very generous person that actually donated, then it was a lot of money, more than $3 million to that program, exactly for the purposes that you had in mind, which is scholarship to those students. So I'm with you.
We are now mentally ready for the formal ratification But before we go to the formal ratification, I think that we need to, again, jointly express our deep appreciation and thanks for a very dedicated service of our rector, of Professor Yaron Oz, who has been accompanying Yossi for many years and will be the continuity oil that will also bring in our new president. And therefore, please join me in thanking her. Thank you. Now, whoever is in charge of the technology, please put the resolution on the board. There is no technology. You have a task for the next round, and I will read to you the resolution. The Board of Governors hereby ratifies the Executive Council's approval of the appointment of Professor Ariel Porat as President of Tel Aviv University for a 5-year period, starting from its 2019 Board of Governors meeting until 2024 Board of Governors meeting. So this is the proposal, and by acclamation, second, good. All in favor? Aye. Just for making sure that we have good governance. Anyone opposes? Anyone abstains? Unanimously approved, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme always has been continuity and change, and I think that we are now witnessing another manifestation thereof. Last week, we formally admitted and approved new governors, and those of you who were present even got a certificate. So let me just remind you that President Yossi Klafter is going to stay with us as a member of the Board of Governors. Giora Yaron is going to join us as a governor. We have now Ambassador Danny Gelman, who is joining us also as a new governor. And I want you to know that our group is strengthened from year to year, and so will the program and the future of the university. I would like to conclude this session just by reminding you about the next step. The next step is you're invited for lunch outside. Not yet. Then, immediately thereafter, there is going to be here a very inspiring symposium, the annual John Gandel Symposium on the Middle East, redefining the military. And like every year, this is one of the most inspiring symposia. It starts at 1:15 in this particular room before we will proceed later on to the dedication of Yehuda Naftali Botanic Garden and more things. But remember one important thing. The day ends with the spectacular, traditional Dan David event. It's an event that always has been the culmination of our meetings, and I hope all of you are going to be there to show respect, admiration, and excitement about this particular I already said it is Dan David. You also want me to say more attractions? All right. Please try to be on time because the President of the State of Israel, Mr. Reuven Rivlin, is going to grace us with his presence, and therefore it will be appropriate if you try to come earlier. Tuxedos are not required. Very good. Lastly, we were clapping many, many times. However, throughout those years, Yossi has been strengthened by, or even I would say, strongly supported by his Ezer Kenegdo, Pirchia, with his wife. Thank you. Being a president of a university is a family affair, and it affects the family, and it is strengthened by the family. So thank you again, Pirchia, for everything you have been doing. And now, there is one person who stands between us and lunch. That's the incentive system. Linda, please.
I just want to say the importance of family, more continuity for each generation. It's very important that the next generation come. I am third generation. My daughter is fourth generation. I've got to keep it going. Yesterday I was at the Gail Rubin Prize. It was wonderful. Families. And yesterday, and when I was heard about the access, I would love to know what you're doing for the young people. All be aware of it.
Thank you very much. The Access Mission. Wait, we're not finished. And now comes the boats. Turn off the phone, please. The boats do not float on their own. So give the next 25 seconds, please. No clapping for now, only at the end. We want to thank all of those who made all this possible. And I'm reading names in whatever order comes to my cell phone. Anata Levy, Lorna Zimet, Alona Eshel Biran, Rava Alazri and all of her team, Barry Elias and its and team, Deskayot, Inbal Kohali, Ilana Papo, Ilanit Kassel, Ayana Segal Cohen, J. Gail Rosner, Marianne Kutcher-Feller, Anat Itzhaki, that has been dealing with the next generation team, Elian Bar and Neta Ziv Av, and all the teams from the organizations internationally. Nothing would have happened without them. If things did not work, they would have been the one to blame, and things have worked. Please express appreciation. Thank you. And now, one last name that needs to be mentioned above each and everything. In this regard, our Vice President Amos Elad was the conductor of all of these people. Amos, yes, stand up. And wait, keep your momentum. You all know, of course, Yael, who is standing now up, another one, please. I mentioned already Anata Levy, but I forgot her military rank. Sergeant General Anata Levy. Get up. Now you are free for lunch.